Have you ever tried to help someone you love with all your heart, only to find that your help feels like control, pushing them further away? It's one of the most painful dilemmas in life. Hello, I'm John from Texas, United States, your friend and narrator of real stories. Stay with me until the end of this incredible story. Want to see your story told here? Then get in touch with us. This is a story about that fine, blurry line between caring and controlling. There are love stories written in the ink of romance, and then there are the grand, epic books of friendship, written in the shared ink of a lifetime. The story of Agnes and Beatrice was such a book. For 65 years, they had been the unwavering constant in each other's lives. Now in their late 70s, both widows, their bond was the central pillar supporting their senior living years. They were two halves of a whole, a familiar rhythm of morning phone calls and afternoon teas. Agnes was the worrier, the one whose faith was as solid as the old wooden pews in her church. Beatrice was the free spirit, the one with a mischievous twinkle in her eye, who believed a life without joy was no life at all. But a recent diagnosis had thrown their world off its axis. Beatrice had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure. The doctor was clear. The condition was manageable, but required a strict, non-negotiable regimen. A low-sodium diet, a handful of pills, and a complete cessation of her cherished evening glass of wine. For Agnes, the diagnosis was a call to action. Her love for her friend, a fierce and protective thing, kicked into high gear. She immediately bought a pill organizer, a low-sodium cookbook, and a blood pressure cuff. She saw her role clearly. She would be Beatrice's guardian angel, her health manager, the gentle enforcer who would ensure her best friend lived for many more years. Beatrice, however, saw the doctor's orders not as a lifeline, but as a life sentence of bland, joyless existence. "Oh, Aggie," she had said, "if I have to live on unsalted crackers and water, you might as well just bury me now." This disagreement began a quiet, loving war. Agnes's daily visits transformed from companionable chats into gentle interrogations. "Did you take your water pill this morning, Bea? What did you have for lunch? Not that salty canned soup again, I hope." She would show up with Tupperware containers filled with bland, doctor-approved meals, her brow furrowed with constant, loving anxiety. It's a difficult situation, isn't it? Who do you find yourself sympathizing with more at this point in the story? Agnes, who is terrified of losing her friend, or Beatrice, who is fighting for her joy and autonomy? Let us know your initial thoughts in the comments. Each question from Agnes, each container of food, was a testament to her devotion. But for Beatrice, it felt like a tightening cage. She began to resent Agnes's constant vigilance. She felt like a child being monitored, her choices questioned at every turn. So, she began to hide things. She would tell Agnes she had taken her pills when she hadn't, because they made her feel dizzy. She would accept the healthy meal with a smile and then, after Agnes left, indulge in a small bag of potato chips, a forbidden treasure that tasted like freedom. She wasn't trying to hurt herself. She was trying to hold on to the small pleasures that made her feel like herself, not just a patient. Agnes wasn't blind. She suspected her friend was not being truthful. Her worry grew into a constant churning fear. Her prayers to God became frantic pleas. "Please, Lord," she would pray, her Bible open on her lap. "Soften her heart. Make her see reason. Don't let her do this to herself. Don't take her from me." The breaking point came on a Thursday afternoon. While Beatrice was in the bathroom, Agnes, driven by suspicion, did something she had never done before. She went into Beatrice's medicine cabinet. And there it was. The bottle of heart medication that should have been half empty was nearly full. The lie was stark and undeniable. A wave of cold betrayal washed over Agnes. As Beatrice came out of the bathroom, she saw the open pill bottle in Agnes's trembling hand and the look of profound hurt on her face. The jig was up. "You've been lying to me," Agnes whispered, her voice shaking with anger and pain. "All this time, you haven't been taking them, have you?" Beatrice crossed her arms, her face hardening. "A few, here and there. They make me feel weak, Aggie." "Weak?" Agnes's voice rose. "Weak is better than dead, Beatrice. Do you have any idea how much I worry? I lie awake at night, my own insomnia a constant torment, picturing the worst. I cook for you, I call you, I pray for you. Don't you care about your life?" "Of course I care about my life," Beatrice retorted. "But I want to live it, not just exist. I don't want my last years to be a joyless parade of pills and salt-free misery. It's my health, my choice." "Your choice is killing you," Agnes cried out, her fear finally erupting. "And it's killing me. To watch you do it, don't I get a say? Doesn't our 65 years of friendship mean anything? Don't you care that you are breaking my heart?" The accusation hung in the air, heavy and poisonous. Beatrice looked at her friend, her eyes flashing with a deep, wounded pride. "My life is my own, Agnes," she said, her voice dropping to a low, dangerous calm. "I love you, but you are not my keeper. You are not my God. Stop trying to be." The words struck Agnes with the force of a physical blow. She felt a chasm open between them, a rift so deep she wasn't sure it could ever be repaired. She had tried to save her friend, but in her desperate, controlling love, she had pushed her away. She turned and walked out of the apartment without another word, the sound of the door clicking shut behind her, feeling like a final, heartbreaking end to their long and beautiful story. The silence that followed their argument was the loudest sound Agnes had ever known. For the first time in 65 years, the phone did not ring the next morning. There was only the heavy, oppressive quiet of her own empty house. Agnes's heart, which had been so full of righteous, fearful anger, was now just a hollow, aching void. She told herself she was right. She was only trying to protect her friend. But Beatrice's final words echoed in her mind, a relentless accusation. "You are not my God." The words haunted her, followed her from room to room. Was that how she had come across? As a tyrant? As someone trying to usurp God's place in her friend's life? The thought was mortifying. Her insomnia now took up permanent residence, whispering doubts to her in the dark. In her pride and her fear, had she committed a sin far worse than Beatrice's dietary indiscretions? Had she smothered her friend with a love that had become indistinguishable from control? Unable to find peace, she turned to the one place she always had: her Bible. But this time, she wasn't looking for verses to justify her position. She was looking for an answer for herself. She opened to the Gospel of John, to the story of Jesus at the home of Mary and Martha. She had always identified with Martha, the one who was busy serving, worrying, making sure everything was right. But as she read it now, she saw it differently. She saw Jesus gently chiding Martha, saying that Mary had chosen the better part by simply sitting at his feet and listening. For decades, Agnes had been Martha, bustling about, convinced that the most loving thing she could do was to do things for Beatrice, to cook, to manage, to worry. She had been so busy serving, she had forgotten to simply listen, to simply be with her friend in her struggle. Then she turned to Paul's letters about the body of Christ, how each part is different, She had been trying to force Beatrice to be the same as her, to value the same things: longevity, caution. She had not respected that Beatrice had her own path too. Walk. Have you ever realized that your good intentions, your desire to help, were actually causing more harm than good in a relationship? It's a humbling realization. Share your thoughts on this delicate balance in the comments. The revelation was painful. She had been so blinded by her fear of the future that she had failed to love her friend in the present. She was trying to save Beatrice's life, but she was crushing her spirit. True love, she began to understand, was not about forcing someone onto the path you have chosen for them. It was about walking beside them on the path they have chosen for themselves, even if it breaks your heart. Her prayer that morning was one of deep, sincere repentance. "Lord," she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks, "forgive me. I was so afraid of the silence of losing her that I filled it with the noise of my own will. I have not been a good friend. Give me the grace to love her with respect, not with control." She knew what she had to do. An apology was not enough. She needed to make a gesture of peace. She went to her kitchen. But this time, she didn't pull out the low-sodium broth. She pulled out the butter, the sugar, the chocolate. She decided to bake Beatrice's favorite, most decadent dessert, a rich, gooey chocolate lava cake, a treat they had often shared on special occasions. It was an act of surrender, a symbol that she was letting go of her role as Beatrice's food police. With the warm, fragrant cake carefully packed, she walked to Beatrice's house, her steps heavy with humility. She knocked on the door, her heart in her throat. Beatrice opened it, and her face was a mirror of Agnes's own misery. She looked tired and profoundly sad. "Oh, Aggie," she said, her voice small, "I was just about to call you. I miss you." "I miss you too," Agnes said, her own voice thick with emotion. "And I am so sorry, Bea, for everything." She stepped inside and placed the cake on the counter. Beatrice looked at the rich, forbidden dessert, and then at her friend, her eyes wide with surprise. "You were right," Agnes said, not waiting for a response. "I was trying to be your keeper. I was playing God. I was so terrified of losing you that I forgot to love you. My fear made me a bully. I wasn't honoring you or our friendship. I was just trying to control you, and that is not love. Can you ever forgive me?" Beatrice's eyes filled with tears. She walked over and pulled her friend into a hug, and they stood there in the middle of the kitchen, two old friends, clinging to each other. What do you think is harder, apologizing when you know you're wrong, or forgiving someone who has hurt you deeply? Tell us what you think. "There's nothing to forgive," Beatrice whispered into her shoulder. "I was awful to you too. I know you're just trying to help. It's so hard. I feel like my body is a cage, and I just want to enjoy the little bits of freedom I have left." They sat at the kitchen table, and Agnes cut 2 large slices of the warm chocolate cake. As they ate the decadent dessert, the silence between them was no longer heavy, but comfortable, healed. "I'm letting go, Bea," Agnes said finally. "Your health, your choices, they are yours. I can't live your life for you, but I can promise you this. I will live it with you. I will be here, to laugh with you, to cry with you, to hold your hand. Whatever you choose, you will not be alone. I will love you through it." Beatrice looked at her friend, her oldest and dearest love story, and a genuine, joyful smile spread across her face. The stubborn, defensive light was gone from her eyes, replaced by a warm, trusting glow. "Now that," she said, taking another bite of cake, "is all I ever wanted." Their friendship had been tested and had not broken. It had bent, and in bending, had found a new, more resilient strength. But as they sat there, a new question hung in the air. Now that Beatrice had her freedom back, now that she was no longer fighting for control of her own life, what would she choose to do with it? The chocolate cake was more than just a dessert. It was a treaty. A delicious, decadent declaration of peace that marked the beginning of a new chapter in their 65-year love story. In the days that followed, Agnes held true to her promise. The change in her was palpable. When she visited Beatrice, she came not as a health inspector, but as a friend. She stopped asking about pills and blood pressure. Instead, she asked about the book Beatrice was reading, or the latest neighborhood gossip. She brought flowers from her garden, not containers of low-sodium stew. Their afternoon teas returned, but the tension was gone, replaced by the easy, comfortable rhythm of their lifelong friendship. Agnes had let go of the reins, and in doing so, had given her friend the greatest gift of all, the dignity of her own choices. Have you ever had a friendship change dramatically when one person's health declined? How did you navigate the shift from equal partners to a relationship involving care? Share your experience in the comments. For Beatrice, this shift was profoundly liberating. Without Agnes's constant, worried pressure, the rebellion lost its purpose. Her small acts of defiance, the hidden bag of salty chips, the forgotten medication, no longer felt like exhilarating assertions of her freedom. They just felt lonely and a little foolish. She was no longer fighting against Agnes. She was now alone with the reality of her own failing health. A few weeks after their reconciliation, Beatrice had a scare. She was watering her plants one morning when a wave of dizziness and a sudden crushing fatigue left her breathless, forcing her to grip the edge of the sink until the world stopped spinning. It passed after a minute, but it left her shaken. In that moment, there was no one to argue with, no one to defy. There was only the stark, undeniable truth. Her body was a fragile vessel, and she was being careless with it. She thought about her life. She thought about the joy she felt during her afternoon teas with Agnes, the sound of her friends' laughter, the comfort of their shared history. Was a secret glass of wine worth sacrificing even one more of those afternoons? Was the fleeting pleasure of a salty snack worth the risk of losing the precious time she had left with the person she loved most on earth? Her motivation began to shift. It was no longer about a doctor's orders or Agnes's rules. It was about her. It was about her desire for more life, more laughter, more time. What do you think is the biggest motivator for getting healthy in our later years? Is it a doctor's warning, family pressure, or a personal desire for a better quality of life? Let us know what motivates you. The next day, she picked up the phone. "Aggie," she said when her friend answered, "I was wondering if you might be free to come over this afternoon. And could you bring that healthy cookbook you bought? The one you said had a decent-looking recipe for chicken?" Agnes was silent for a moment on the other end, processing the request. Then, her voice, full of a gentle, joyful warmth, replied, "I'll be right over." This was the true beginning of their partnership. Agnes came over, not as a warden, but as a research assistant. They sat together at the kitchen table, flipping through the cookbook, Beatrice pointing out recipes that looked interesting, and Agnes offering gentle suggestions. They decided to try cooking together once a week, exploring this new world of healthy eating as a team. It became an adventure. They discovered that herbs and spices could be just as satisfying as salt. They learned to make a delicious shepherd's pie with a cauliflower mash topping. They laughed at their culinary disasters and celebrated their successes. Beatrice began taking her medication more consistently, not because Agnes was checking up on her, but because she wanted to feel well enough to enjoy their cooking days. They started taking slow, gentle walks together through their neighborhood, their conversation meandering as freely as their path. Agnes learned to listen more than she spoke, and Beatrice learned to share her fears without the fear of being judged. Their friendship, which had always been deep, now gained a new layer of profound, intentional respect. The love story of their old age was not one of fading away, but of adapting, of finding new ways to show love and care in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Months later, Agnes sat in Beatrice's kitchen, the air filled with the savory aroma of garlic and rosemary chicken. Beatrice was at the stove, stirring a pot of soup, her movements still slow, but her face animated with a life and energy that had been absent for so long. Her health had stabilized. She still had bad days, but they were outnumbered by the good ones. She raised a spoonful of soup for Agnes to taste. "What do you think?" she asked, a familiar, mischievous twinkle in her eye. "Needs more salt?" Agnes laughed, a real, belly-deep laugh. "It's perfect, Bea," she said, looking at her friend, her heart overflowing with love. Absolutely perfect. She had learned the hardest lesson of love, that sometimes, to save someone, you have to be willing to let them go. And in that act of faithful surrender, she had not lost her friend. She had gotten her back, stronger and more vibrant than before. The story of Agnes and Beatrice is a beautiful testament to the wisdom of a loving friendship. It teaches us that there is a fine line between caring and controlling, and that true love must always be seasoned with respect for another's freedom. It is a powerful reminder that we cannot force someone to choose health, but we can inspire them by offering our unwavering support, our patience, and our partnership. It shows that faith sometimes is not about changing another person's heart, but about having the courage to change our own. If this story of a friendship that found a new, healthier path has warmed your heart, please honor it with a like and subscribe to Stories Beyond 50 for more tales of love, wisdom, and the enduring power of connection. And now, we open this space to you, our community. Have you ever struggled to watch a loved one make choices you disagreed with? How do you balance your desire to help with their right to their own autonomy? What has friendship taught you about the art of letting go? Your stories are a wellspring of wisdom. Please share them with us in the comments below. And if you are not ready to share, but you believe in the power of a friendship built on love and respect, just write the single word friendship in the comments. Let us celebrate the bonds that hold us together. We read and cherish every word. God bless you, and we will see you in the next story.